Hello. Thanks for joining today's webinar, 7 Reasons to Choose SUSE for Your Transition to SAP S4HANA. I'm Michael Tabor, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager that's responsible for communicating information about SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP applications and other solutions that we have for SAP environments. And I'll be hosting today's webinar. So before we get started, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. The presentation today will probably last about 30 minutes, so we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. If you do have any questions about anything that I'm covering today, please submit them using the chat function on your screen, and you can do this at any time during the webinar. I'll do the best I can to answer all the questions before we get to the end of our session today. If you do ask a question I can't answer, and that happens from time to time, I'll certainly get back to you individually after the webinar, usually within a day or two. We are going to be recording this webinar, so you can access it later, or if you want to share it with your colleagues, you'll be able to do that. And you're going to get an email probably in about 24 hours or less telling you how to access that recording. Okay, so let's get started by framing the discussion around what's driving the need for digital transformation and how SAP S4HANA helps. And then from there, I'll get into the 7 reasons why you should choose SUSE for SAP S4HANA. Digital transformation is really this pretty significant industry shift that a lot of the organizational leaders in really every industry can't afford to ignore. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly why. I'll give you some examples of exactly why. And it requires really first understanding the technologies that are shaping our world and then also how they impact the market. So here on the chart, you can see 10 technology trends that over the last few years are really driving this need for digital transformation. And really in all of them, you can see this recurring theme of needing fast access to get more data, to have this greater ability to gain insights and to make decisions on that data, and also more automation and increased security. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but just to give you a few examples, the growth of mobile devices. Everybody has cell phones, tablets, and the thing we like about them is that they give us instant access to information. The information we want, it's customized, it's personalized for the information that we want to get. Internet of Things objects providing immediate access to status, locations of devices and systems. And public clouds, being able to get instant access to IT resources, whether it's storage or applications. But now the problem that's going to create for your business, though, is that your customers, and in a lot of cases even your partners, are going to want a similar experience with the products and services that you offer. They want to get 24/7 access to the business, and they want it to be fast. They want it to be personalized. They want it to be consistent across all of your channels, whether that's online or in a physical location. And it's really not that hard to switch. If a customer sees something else over there that looks really interesting or looks like it better fits their needs, they can very easily switch to your competitor's products. So as an organization, you're going to have to be able to transform to be more responsive to these expectations or risk getting left behind. And I can give you a couple of examples here of that. SAP customer Under Armour sees themselves as an innovation company and not just a sports apparel company. They take a look at the data, they analyze it that they get when athletes are using their products, and they use this insight in order to improve the products to better meet the needs of their consumers. So Under Armour is thinking that as they transform their business operations, they expect to be able to cut their supply chain times by up to 40% so they can deliver the right products to the right locations and have them there when the customer is ready to buy. Now there's a video link at the bottom of the slide if you want to hear their story in their own words. Now think about, on the other hand, a company like Blockbuster Video, who was very slow to adapt to a market that just didn't really want to go into a store to rent DVDs and return the movies. By the time they recognized that the market had really shifted over to more of a subscription-based, on-demand, digital streaming services, companies like Netflix and Amazon had differentiated themselves as the new market leaders. So SAP's digital transformation strategy, of course, is built on SAP S4HANA. And I think the best way to understand how this can increase a company's agility is to compare it to the traditional SAP R3 environment that you see here. So you've got various NetWeaver applications. They're feeding data into the business warehouse for analytics and reporting. Note that each application has got its own user interface, and there's no awareness of other information that's available to other applications. Each application could be on a number of different operating environments and also different relational databases. So this picture would really even be more complex if I included all the different data marts that are required for analytics. Now, let's compare this to the SAP S4HANA environment, where you've got SAP HANA as this single repository for all of the application data instead of having these different relational databases for each application, plus a data warehouse, plus data marts for analytics. And because it's a columnar in-memory database with compression, it's inherently faster, it helps to reduce the amount of storage that's required, and it's a lot easier to work with as far as the DBAs are concerned, but it doesn't look any different than a relational database to an application. The applications all run on a common user interface that's called Fiori, and note that all the applications also have access to both transactional and analytics information that's deposited by the other applications. And there are two areas where you've got some options to choose. One is in terms of deployment, where you can implement your SAP systems on-premise, in the cloud, or using a hybrid of the two. The entire infrastructure ideally would run on a single operating system, and SAP HANA itself runs only on Linux. So Windows Server and Unix are not going to be supported for the SAP HANA environments in the future, or today or in the future. So there are only two Linux distributions that are validated and supported for SAP HANA, which, as I said, of course, is that foundation for SAP S4HANA. So for the rest of this discussion, I'm going to give you the 7 reasons why we believe that you should choose SUSE solutions for your SAP environments. The first reason is the partnership that SUSE has with SAP. Now, a lot of what we've done with our SAP solutions for SAP environments our SUSE solutions for SAP environments, rather, is driven by this relationship that we have with SAP and the knowledge that we've gained of the application market as a result. We've had this really strong partnership of collaboration and innovation with SAP for over 18 years. SUSE has engineers who are working jointly with the SAP engineers in the SAP Linux lab in Waldorf, Germany. SAP uses SUSE Linux Enterprise Server as a reference development platform for their applications, and they also use SUSE products internally for their own operations. SUSE and SAP are also collaborating in the Cloud Foundry to define some industry standards for cloud computing and platform as a service. The SUSE Linux Enterprise Server was built on, was actually the foundation for SAP HANA, and for about 3 years it was the only operating system that SAP supported. We're estimating that about 90% of all SAP HANA deployments, both the appliances and the TDI, Tailored Data Center Integration, are built on SUSE Linux. And a little over 3 years ago, SUSE started working with SAP and IBM to offer an alternative platform on the Power Systems for SAP HANA. And over the last couple of years, about 2.5 years, IBM has seen over 1,200 customers deploy SAP HANA on SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP applications. So it's no wonder then that roughly 70% of all SAP application deployments on Linux are on SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, which is the strategic platform for SAP S4HANA and some of the applications you see here. For example, SAP Business One, B1 for SAP HANA, that SUSE Linux Enterprise Server is the only operating system that is certified to run that environment for SMB customers. SUSE is also far and away the leader in terms of SAP HANA benchmarks. Now, SUSE doesn't perform benchmark testing. Rather, SUSE's hardware and cloud partners are running benchmark testing on their systems, and they're consistently choosing SUSE Linux Enterprise Server in order to get the best results. What you see here are all of the different benchmarks. There are 5 different benchmarks that are available. Now, let's start with a high-level view of the solutions that SUSE offers for SAP environments by looking at SUSE's concept for a software-defined infrastructure to enable more efficient application delivery for digital transformation. And then I'll talk about how the SAP solutions, the things we develop with SAP, fit into that. SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, of course, is our enterprise-grade Linux operating system that you're all familiar with, and we've been delivering that for over 25 years. and it supports a wide range of operating environments, including multiple x86 hypervisors, Xen KVM, Hyper-V, and PowerVM, as well as IBM environments, hypervisor environments, ZVM, and IBM PowerVM. Now, with a traditional server environment, the OS is providing APIs to the physical hardware layer, and with a software-defined infrastructure, we're doing something very similar in terms of control. And we're doing this with orchestration by SUSE OpenStack Cloud, our software-defined storage solution, SUSE Enterprise Storage, and open source as well as some proprietary networking solutions. Since the public cloud is an important part of data center transformation, we created the SUSE Cloud Provider Platform that makes it possible to get on-demand use of SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, SLES for SAP applications, and SUSE Manager from major cloud providers like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. SUSE Container as a Service Platform, or CASP, combines a container-optimized version of SUSE Linux with Kubernetes and an industry-standard container engine to enable the creation and deployment of applications. And you can basically use those to run across private data centers as well as public clouds. The SUSE Cloud Application Platform adds a Cloud Foundry certified path to combine a variety of runtimes and predefined services. So developers can basically then very quickly create and deploy new services. SUSE Manager ensures compliance and secure operations with tools such as cloud monitoring, open attic storage management, along with some deployment tools to help automate and simplify rolling out new capabilities like cloud, containers, and Cloud Foundry. Now keep in mind that all of these solutions, the SUSE solutions here, are adhering to the open source API, so you're not going to be locked into running this as an entire SUSE software stack. So now let's take a look at where these SUSE solutions, where we've worked with SAP in terms of collaborating, where it's either resulted in an SAP validated or certified offering, or where SAP is actually running on SUSE software. So first of all, as I said, SLES is a reference development platform for development, and SAP runs some of their applications on it internally. We developed the first open source virtualization solution for SAP environments and SAP HANA, and also the SAP HANA Express VMs are built on SLES. So if you download that image, it's going to be built on SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. SAP Cloud Platform is actually built on SUSE OpenStack Cloud and SUSE Enterprise Storage. SUSE has collaborated with SAP as well as public cloud providers to deliver a consistent software deployment and management experience on-premise and in the cloud. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later. SUSE Manager is integrated with SLES for SAP's installation wizard and the packages, making it easier to configure and install the entire application and database system using a single pane of glass. And of course, as I mentioned, the SUSE CAS platform is certified for SAP applications, and we are collaborating with SAP in the Cloud Foundry. Now, let's move on to reason number 2, reliability and security. We've had a specific product offering for SAP environments for about 8 years now, that being SLES for SAP applications. And having additional reliability and security features were some of the first ones that we added to the base OS. Now with SUSE Linux Enterprise High Availability Extension, you can very quickly and easily install and configure and manage clustered Linux systems to increase the overall service availability for mission-critical systems like SAP as well as your data being in SAP HANA. You can use any combination of virtual and physical systems in terms of building these clusters. That includes a graphical user interface that's called HAWK, a High Availability Web Console with a K. And it's a really intuitive interface and brings a really consistent look across many of the SUSE products. And it's integrated with the installation wizard so that as you're setting up the operating system and setting up the installation of the applications, you can also configure your high availability all at the same time and having it automated. SLES for SAP applications is the only Linux distribution that is certified to manage SAP NetWeaver clusters. And you can see the full list. I think there are about 10 or 12 vendor applications that have this certification. Now, when it comes to high availability, of course, SAP HANA is designed with the system replication capability. And that's going to automatically mirror the in-memory data from the primary system, pictured here as Node A, to a backup system. So this can either be as a hot standby or as a copy of the main memory on that secondary system, or also in the storage level. So with SLES for SAP applications, what we do is we've come up with a way to automate not only detecting that problem, but automating the failover and making sure that the primary system doesn't try to come back up as a secondary system after the failover occurs. So this is the performance optimized scenario. That's going to provide the fastest recovery since both memory and storage are already set up in Node B in the event that Node A fails. Now, as an alternative, what customers wanted was what we call the cost optimized version. This is something that we developed jointly with SAP, where that second node can be used for something that's not productive, maybe QA or test. In the event that Node A fails, then it's going to take a little bit longer for Node B to come back up because you have to first stop that non-production activity, whatever it was, and then load the data that's been replicated over there from storage into memory. Now, in the event that there's a lot of data, it's a really large data set, then this could potentially take several hours. So again, this is why this is maybe not as optimal in terms of performance and recovery, but it does keep your data and give you the option of using that server for some other purpose. Now, multi-tenant environments are something that might be of interest to people who are going to be service providers. It's a variant of the performance optimized scenario, but it does support multiple SAP HANA database containers. Then there's the scale-out environment. This was probably the last one that we enabled. A little bit more complicated because the way the scale-out is designed by default, the way SAP designed it, you've got worker nodes, which are the green ones here, and then you've got an orange standby node. And that one is to take over in case one of those worker nodes fails. But if something happens to that entire cluster, then you can fail that over to a secondary cluster, to cluster 2, that looks very much like that. And otherwise, it works like the performance optimized environment. And then finally, there's a scale-up multi-tier option that allows you to have a node C that's asynchronously connected to node B in a remote data center. Now, in terms of building security, adding security to your SAP systems, we have the SAP HANA Firewall. And this includes features to automate the process of installing and configuring the additional network zones that are required to create a really secure SAP HANA system. Now, if you don't want to use our automated setup, that's fine. We do have an installation wizard that provides a guided configuration with some recommended options that you have the flexibility to change. We also have a built-in remote key server, and this is really to store encryption keys of the SAP file system or the SAP HANA data volumes. When you've got a landscape of maybe hundreds or thousands of servers, you want to keep the data secure, and especially if that data is maybe in a remote data center, maybe you've got a service provider that's providing the data. It gives you that flexibility to, after a reboot, communicate with each one of the different storage volumes with that key server and automatically unlock them. Now, it does support the key management interoperability protocol standards, so if you want to use a third-party key server that works with that, then we'll support it as well. You don't have to use our built-in solution. Okay, reason number 3, performance optimization. Since SUSE Linux Enterprise Server is a reference development platform that SAP uses for their software, we've worked really closely with them over the last several years to develop some configuration and tuning packages that we include with SLES for SAP applications. And they're really designed to provide best practices tuning for high performance. These packages are used in conjunction with the installation wizard that we provide. So it's automatically deployed and set up for various applications like SAP HANA, SAP NetWeaver, and Business One. Also, in terms of performance, we provided another option that we call page cache management. And this is really to deal with a problem that has to do with Linux kernel memory management. SAP applications do use a large amount of memory in order to maintain performance, rather than storing data on disk. Now, at the same time, the Linux kernel is paging out memory that hasn't been accessed for a while in order to maintain high performance of the file system. So these two things are really conflicting. And what page cache management does is it allows the IT administrator to limit the memory that the Linux kernel can access and also limit paging as long as there is memory still available in the system. Reason number 4, rapid deployment. If you're going to be a really agile enterprise, you need to have an IT infrastructure that has the speed and the flexibility to quickly deploy any new services that you want to offer. So SUSE supports SAP S4HANA deployment speed in 3 different ways. First of all, built into the SLES for SAP applications, I just talked about the configuration and tuning packages, and also the installation wizard. So all of this is really designed to keep you from having to go through pages and pages of documentation to find all the right parameters and all the right configurations. It automates the process, sets everything up, helps to kick off the installation of the SAP application, and also even helps to install the high availability. So this can reduce your installation times from several days to several hours. In fact, we've had service provider customers who've gotten multiple customers up and running in an afternoon. Now, if you're implementing a private cloud for your SAP environment, this is an option. If you have time constraints, or maybe you don't have enough capital to get new systems in very quickly, but you want to maintain that control of the infrastructure and the data. So combining SUSE OpenStack Cloud with SLES for SAP applications gives you the ability to very quickly deploy SAP systems with the flexibility you need, and also be able to even provide self-service access to the applications. And if your strategy includes development or deployment of services in the public cloud, then we've got you covered there too. We've worked with major cloud providers to deliver pre-built, optimized images that work really the same as the on-premise deployment. So, if your cloud service provider preferences change, because you can bring your own subscription, you have the flexibility to move from one to the other, and you don't have to get additional subscriptions from SUSE. Now, even with the cloud deployments, of course, you have multiple options. You can start with, for example, maybe you want to go public cloud. You want to get to market quickly with a new product or service, but you've got capital expense constraints or resource constraints. So just work with your favorite public cloud provider. We have made it possible for Amazon Web Services, Google Compute Cloud, IBM Cloud, and Microsoft Azure in order to basically get images for SAP environments. If you need the flexibility to deliver services faster, but as I said, you want to keep all those applications and data in-house, then you can deploy them on a private cloud built on the OpenStack standard using SUSE OpenStack Cloud. So you can meet those line of business requirements for faster service delivery, or maybe self-service support, and reduce the risks associated with shadow IT, where you've got departments going out and getting their own cloud subscriptions. Or if you've got developers who need to access a pre-built SAP HANA environment, then you could also consider leveraging the SAP Cloud Platform. This is a complete platform as a service stack for rapid deployment of new applications and services with no internal IT resource requirements. So again, this is built on SUSE OpenStack Cloud and SUSE Enterprise Storage, and it's run by SAP. Reason number 6, monitoring and maintenance. We've got a couple of different products that we offer to help you monitor and maintain your SAP systems. First of all, SUSE Manager is our best-in-class open-source infrastructure management solution, and it's designed to help your enterprise DevOps and IT operations teams to first reduce the complexity and basically get control using this single tool to manage all of your SAP systems. They can optimize operations while reducing costs with automation. So basically, your Linux server provisioning can all be automated. And also, make sure that you're compliant with any internal security policies as well as external regulations by automatically monitoring, tracking, auditing, and reporting on the status of your systems. And then with SUSE Linux Enterprise Live Patching, this can be used to help improve your overall business continuity and your service availability by giving you the capability to fix any security vulnerabilities with no system downtime and no performance impacts. You can actually have cumulative live patches, and the vital product data is always going to be correct in the event that you do have a security audit. Now, this is a unique feature that only SUSE offers for SAP environments, and SAP does support systems that use live patching. Number 6, transitioning to SAP S4HANA. Now, as I said, since SAP's future direction is open source and SAP HANA is only going to run on Linux, eventually any systems administrators or SAP basis administrators that are using Unix and Microsoft Windows Server are going to need to learn to work with Linux. Now, Unix and Linux aren't really that different, so that transition we don't think would be that difficult, but it could be a bit challenging for some systems administrators who've been working with with Microsoft Windows Server for several years. So with SLES for SAP application, we've added a couple of features that, as a starting point, really help to ease that transition from Microsoft Windows to SUSE Linux Enterprise. So by default, when you install SLES for SAP applications, it enables the Microsoft Remote Desktop Protocol. So system admins can use a remote connection with a desktop environment that they're already comfortable with. We also provide enhanced Active Directory integration so that the existing Linux directory is integrated with the Windows Active Directory. We've got a YAS graphical user interface to configure it, and it allows the Linux server to join the Windows Active Directory domain. And there are also a couple of smaller items, including a tray icon for the keyboard layout and a cheat sheet for performing certain common Windows tasks on Linux. We also provide a link for getting training on Linux. We have a lot of flexibility for in-person as well as online Linux training. And then finally, reason number 7, support. If you've got a mission-critical system, then it's very important to have access to support, and SUSE provides that working in conjunction with SAP. We include 24/7 support. Technically, this is kind of a requirement for being a partner with SAP. So that's going to be included with your subscription so that you can access updates and technical support. Now, SAP prefers that customers initiate their support requests using one of their escalation channels. So it could be the telephone, it could be using the web front end, CSN, or the SAP Solution Manager. This request then gets assigned to their support system, and SAP will contact SUSE if the request involves the operating system. Now, if you have an issue, however, and you know it's related to the operating system, an issue or a question, you know it's related to the operating system, with a subscription to SLES for SAP applications, you also have the flexibility to contact SUSE Level 3 support directly, and that's a feature that only we offer. And then SLES for SAP applications also has an additional update channel that's dedicated to patches, fixes, and updates for anything that we have in our solution that's specific to SAP. So as we continue to work with SAP in the Linux lab, there may be some things that we tweak, there may be some new features we add, and you can get those features and those updates without waiting for the next service pack. So to summarize, again, 7 reasons why we believe you should choose SUSE for SAP HANA. First of all, reason number 1, the strength of the SUSE solutions that we have for SAP environments really starts with our collaboration and the leadership in being either the first and very often, and even in some cases, the only platform that's supported, at least for some period of time. Reason number 2, SAP systems are mission critical, so we offer a number of features to help you reduce downtime and to maintain a secure system. Reason number 3, real-time access to data from SAP S4HANA means that you have to have a platform that's optimized for performance and includes features to help you sustain that performance. Reason number 4, if you want to transform to make your business more agile, you have to have an infrastructure that's going to be flexible, so you have the ability to deploy your SAP systems on-premise or in a number of different cloud options. Reason number 5, we have SUSE Manager. We have live patching to help you reduce the amount of time to monitor and configure your systems and to make sure that you can identify problems and fix them. And in the case of live patching, make sure that you can protect yourself from security vulnerabilities without taking down your systems. Reason number 6, tools to help make that transition to SAP HANA easier on Linux, easier for systems administrators, working with Microsoft Server capabilities. And of course, as I said, providing superior support, working jointly with SAP. Now, before I open things up for any questions, I do want to invite any of you who are planning to be at the Sapphire Now conference in a couple of weeks to come by and visit the SUSE booth. We're going to have a number of different things that we offer. We're going to have a mini theater that's got presentations on the topics that you see here. Some of them are going to be given by our partners, some of them given by SUSE employees. We'll also have 10 kiosks in our booth, and 4 of them are dedicated to the topics you see here, your path to SAP HANA, S4HANA, Cloud Platform and Containers, SAP on the public cloud, and also going towards zero downtime to reduce, to improve availability for solutions. There you can talk to SUSE experts who have information about the things that I just talked about here today, get into a lot more detail. But we also have 6 partner kiosks. We have Micro Focus, State of Art, IHT, Associates, Revolution Software, Proterra, and SCP, all exhibiting in our booth, so please visit them as well. And then we've got a couple of theater presentations, Sapphire theater presentations, given by SUSE experts. So with that, I'm going to open things up for questions. Again, just use the chat feature there if you have a question and you would like to have it answered. Okay, I've got one question here. Can the high availability scenarios that were shown on one of the slides earlier be run in the cloud? And the answer is yes. Those scenarios are available to be run both on-premise. They were originally designed for on-premise, but as we started to work with the public cloud providers, we made sure that those things work there as well. Same thing applies to SUSE Manager. That is also available to manage cloud resources as well as your on-premise resources. Okay, any other questions? Okay, the link that you see there on the page, SUSE.com/programs transitioning to SAP, gives you, again, more detailed information than I've covered over the last 30 minutes here. So please feel free to go check that out. And with that, I'm going to close the call. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, you should be receiving an email probably sometime later this afternoon, certainly within the next 24 hours with the replay information for this. Thank you for joining me.